during the break, I told you to download personal.zip from Hackerschool. It's under the Materials tab. Once you've downloaded that and you've unzipped it, I unzipped it into the folder I asked you to create at the start of this workshop. So personal, you unzip it, you get a folder called personal, and you have a picture of a cute boy, which I took in a fishing village, and now it belongs to you. And you have a HTML file, and you have a bunch of CSS files, which we'll talk about in a bit. And they're really long if you go take a look at them. But I want you to open this in Sublime. You can open it in Chrome as well if you want to see how it looks like. It should look very ugly. Yes. You know about this. Okay. So if you open this in Chrome, what you will see is another very ugly page. But it has a photo inside of this cute little boy. Right. So, first things first. I want you to edit this text. This text will eventually become your personal site that you walk away with, that you can use to showcase yourself. I want you to edit it in Sublime to reflect you. Before you do that, if you take a look at all the HTML, right? Everything here are things you know. It's the basic structure is there. There is some lorem text. There are H2 headings. There is divs with a special class called span4. There is a class called role_fluid, right? And the only thing that may be interesting to you is that this looks weird, right? This is a HTML entity. It's basically a string that you can type, and if you go to the browser, you will see that it looks like this, like copyright. It will be the copyright symbol. I don't know if you can see. Let me just... You can look at your own page. But yeah, this is the copyright symbol. Okay? There are a whole bunch of other HTML entities. Like you can put a registered or trademark, but we're just going to use copyright because it should be your web page. Okay, you can start editing. So I'm going to give you some time to edit. I don't know what you want to write. I'm going to write Cedric Chin, Cedric's personal site. H1 here, I'm going to write Cedric. This is so weird. So I'm going to write programmer, writer, photographer, some text that will show off who you are, like XOXO, but anyway. I'm not really a photographer, but anyway. So say something here that introduces people to who you are. This is actually me. I mean, like I like good books, green tea and cats. So I'm gonna write Cedric is a Singaporean university student who loves good books, green tea and cats. He HTML5 workshop. I want you to make this page yours. So say whatever like best represents you. What? Yeah, so okay. Brilliant. He just conducted the HTML5 workshop. Okay. Oh, this is disgusting. I mean, I don't know why I wrote this. You should change this. This is not professional at all. I have the following hobbies. I'm serious, edit this. I want you to have a personal relationship with this page. Yeah, well, obviously I'm not a very interesting person. Sleeping, eating, and coding. Really? Huh. Okay, surfing the New York Times. Yeah. And you can, you should replace this lorem ipsum with something else. Like, fun facts. I am scared of bees. And I really like pizza. Right? Okay. change this to your name, and add. Oh, sorry, I keep writing Eli James. Change this to your personal name, at the very bottom of the page. You notice that there are like Twitter, Facebook, email. I want you to add your Twitter, the link to your Twitter profile and your Facebook profile. I don't have Facebook, so I'm going to delete Facebook. I think Facebook is a huge distraction, and I recommend that you all leave it. Twitter is not. This is my Twitter username. And email. Okay, email's interesting. So, okay, fill in your Twitter, Facebook. I'll get to email in a bit. Fill in your description. Fill in your hobbies. Give some nice introductory text to yourself. Right? Facilitators, could you just walk around and just see if everybody's done? And you can like give me a heads up. We're going to make this very pretty in a bit. So I want you to like think that this is your professional site or something. Feel free to add extra paragraphs, yeah, like fun facts. My favorite languages are Python, Okay, is everyone done? Everyone done? If not, you can just write the last piece of personal information on your website. Okay, let's start learning things or doing things. Well, everybody is really engrossed in writing about themselves. Okay, I told you the email is interesting, right? So I want you to turn this into a link, just like, oops, crap. Okay, turn this into a link just like you've done in your Facebook and Twitter. But instead of linking to a website, I want you to put in this. So write the attribute, then write mail to colon your email address. In my case, it's save. Okay? This is a special kind of link tag. When you go to your Chrome browser and you go to your page, which is still a bit ugly but should hopefully look have more information about you. You scroll to the bottom now. If you click on that link, email, you will open up your web browser, or I mean your email client, and you in compose mode. If I'm not mistaken. I have a feeling, there you are. Okay, never mind. So I've actually set my browser to open it in Gmail because that's what I use. But depending on what platform you are, you may have Outlook open, you may have Thunderbird open. Yes. Oh yes, the code. So the code's just like any link tag, just that instead of writing a web address, you write mail to, then you write your email address. Okay. Now actually this is, have you written it down? Is everyone good? Okay. This is actually not recommended. I just asked you to do this because you can do it. But in the real world, when you put this outside, when you put it on the internet, what's going to happen is that lots of people will start stealing your email addresses and start sending you spam. Because they have like automated programs that will just surf the net and collect email addresses. So this is actually not recommended, but I'm asking you to put it here just to show you that there is such a thing as a mail to tag in a anchor tag. I mean a mail to feature in an anchor tag that allows you to click and immediately, open up a web browser to email you, which is kind of cool. Okay, but we just want to leave it here because you're not going to put this web page on the web, I hope. But if you do, later after this workshop, remember to remove this. Okay, now let's start doing some serious things. You notice this? At the very top of your page, this declares the doc type. This tells your browser that this web page is in HTML5. Okay? At the end of this workshop, the very, very last section of this section, we will start writing HTML5, semantic HTML5. But this is just for you to know that this tells your browser that, oh, this web page is in HTML5. It's not in HTML5 right now. Well, actually, it kind of is, but that's a different story. Explain that in a bit. I want you to add an ID here called container. Let me see the original code. There you are. Brilliant. Oh, sorry. I don't want an ID. I want a class. I wrote this last night and I'm referring to it now. Okay, good. Class. Okay. The first part of this section, I'm going to teach you how to arrange divs. I told you that divs are used by web designers around the world to create beautiful layouts. I want to show you how to do layouts first. So let's start with adding style tags. Okay. And as you can guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to define container. So container is a class, so there must be a dot in front. And you add some class. Right? So, first thing, width. Let's say I want the width of this container to be exactly 960 pixels wide. Why 960? Well, it turns out that 960 is easily divisible into many sections that are pleasing to the eye. Well, it's a standard. A lot of designers pick this number because you can divide it by 2, and then you can like have 2 sections or 4 sections or 16 sections that have very nice margins and very nice paddings, and everything looks very pretty. But let's just stick to 960. You go to your web browser. Sorry. You reload, and everything should be narrower. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, I think everything is narrow, is it? Oh, it's hard to say because the image expands out, but there should be, I mean the text doesn't span the whole thing. No, I don't want to show that overflow. See, if you go to inspector, the maximum is 960 pixels. The reason you don't see anything is because your text is not long enough, but if you long enough to cover the entire page, you suddenly stop at 960 and go again. Okay, so we've just had 960 pixels. Okay, so I want to center this on the page. And the way you center this on the page is, so I told you margin, right? Now, you see what subline text writes? Margin, right, left, bottom, top. These are additional properties. I want you to write margin right. I want you to write auto, margin left, auto. Okay? So far so good? And just for the sake of completion, let's write margin top 0. You don't have to write pixels, just write 0. People know, the computer will know that, the browser will know that you're just saying no margins. Right, just save it. And if you go to the browser and you reload, it should move over. Again, ignore the picture. The picture's a bit weird because it's like spilling out of the div, because it's really big. I took it with a DSLR. Sorry about that. And you notice that this text now is flush to the left because there's margins now applied. And what it means by auto, right, is automatically adjust the margins, the right and the left margins, such that the div is centered in the middle of the page. If you open your inspector again, it's quite slow. Press the magnifying glass and you hover over div, it's in the middle of the page. Cool, yeah? Okay. So we've like done the bare minimum to have a nice page. Now instead of it spilling like vomit over your browser, we have centered it in the middle of the page. So this is very long, right? Next idea. You can actually write all this in one line. And the way you write this in one line is 0, auto. So this might seem like magic, and if you delete all this, you see that everything's the same. Okay, now this is a bit magical. Programmers, as a general rule, are lazy. They don't like to type a lot, so they keep finding ways of making things shorter. Actually, what this really means is that bottom and top 0, right and left auto. Okay. If you want more granular control, you can do this. We're not going to use this, but I'm just going to show you. This is top, 10 pixels. Say I want a margin at the top to be 10 pixels. This is right, 20 pixels. This is left. This is bottom, 10 pixels. Sorry, let's make it another number, 15 pixels. And this is left, which is 30 pixels. So it's a clockwise direction. Top, right, bottom, left. Okay? And this is how people write it in short form. And if you remove two elements, you remove this, then this will be top and bottom. You remove this, then this will be left and right. Okay? So what I've done here with the short form format is top and bottom 0 pixels, 0, right and left automatic. Okay. I told you that margin and padding are very important elements. Let's give it some padding. Let's give it 15 pixels of padding. So you reload again, you shouldn't see much difference because the div is padded. But if you, and let's add border because we know border. Border. So again, you see, there are actually many elements that you can use. But I'm going to use border, just border. And this is actually a short form format. 1 pixel, solid. This means apply to all sides of the border, but you can have border top, border bottom, right, left. I want 333, which is like a nice, not too dark, not too light black. Reload, and you notice that now your side looks a bit more interesting. It looks like a piece of paper, except for the big image that just fills out. So let's temporarily fix the image. I want you to scroll down to the image and go, hi Omer, put your back down and help out. Okay, this is the image, yeah? So notice that I've added a class to it. We're not going to touch this yet. This will make sense in a bit. But later on, we'll be adding some CSS styles to it. We'll make the image look pretty. I want you to add width. This is ugly. But I want you to temporarily add width and limit it to 800 pixels. Okay? You go back to your page. Suddenly your your picture is 800 pixels wide, and it's not that bad, not that ugly. Okay. So this is temporary. You can also, we will eventually enforce the picture through CSS, like the size of the picture. All right. Next. You would, okay, wait, is everybody good? I realize I'm moving a bit. No, what's up? Okay, okay. Yeah, I realize I'm moving a bit too fast. Things are starting to look pretty, so I get excited. This? Okay. Let's wait for our friend to catch up. By the way, for those of you who are already done, solid is just one option. You can have dash, you can have dotted, right? Solid means just one solid line. But if you have dash, then you have like dashes, lots of dashes. And the 1 pixel there means the thickness of the border. You can have 3 pixels, but it will look very thick. You can try it out, try it out. You don't have to watch me do it. Try it out yourself. You know enough HTML and CSS to be able to make changes and play around. You can even change the color. If you want purple, just type purple instead of 333. Has everyone caught up? We good? Okay, we're good. Brilliant. Okay. So, you've played a bit, possibly. Notice that there's a bunch of divs that are defined at the bottom here. There's row fluid, there's span 4. Let's define these things first, yeah? I want you to define span 4. Okay, I'll admit that right now I'm writing CSS on the fly. I've not prepared for this exactly, but let's see if my knowledge holds well. Let's write span 4. Right? I want the width to be 960 divided by 3. No, divided by 3 with a margin of 10 pixels. Let's say, actually, you know what? Let's just make it smaller first. Let's make it 150 pixels. And in which case, we have to, okay, are we done so far? Alright. If we reload, things should start looking very ugly. There you are. See, your fun facts are now, my fun facts are now 150 pixels wide. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to, on this page, have a nice big section at the top, and I want to have the photo, my hobbies, and my fun facts as 3 boxes next to each other. Sort of like the New York Times. If you scroll to the very bottom, you realize that there's a whole bunch of divs that are sitting next to each other, side by side. I want it to look a bit like this, just that I only want to have 3 boxes. Okay? Let's do that. First, actually first will be to solve the picture problem. The picture's just too big right now. Let's change the width to 150. So go to your picture and change the width to 150 pixels. If you go back to your browser, oh, this is ugly. This one. Your picture should be like very nice and small now. Okay. And I want to make this sit next to each other. So I'm going to use this property, which is fairly important, called display. Now, if you press display none, guess what happens? Let's try that. Save, reload, boom, everything disappears. It's still there, it's still there. The browser sees it, but the browser applies a property called don't show it up, don't show it, display none. So nothing shows up. So by default, these things are divs. Divs span 4. And by default, they have a property called display block. Okay, now we go into some interesting CSS, some deep CSS shit. Reload, right? What block means is that this thing is a block. It's like a box. It's solid. You can't override it. You can't cross the boundaries. And other elements have to sit in relation to it. It's almost like Lego. You have to put a Lego block on top of another, right? You also notice that block means that nothing appears next to it. So if you open your inspector, inspector's really useful. You see a visualization of what a block means to the browser. You go to the magnifying glass and you hover over this. Sorry. I got it this way. There you are. I can't seem to get that exactly. There you are. Look, there's a huge orange box to the very right, even though there's nothing there. This is what it means by display block. It means that it's a real block. It covers everything, and you can't move things up. So we need to change this property if we want the boxes to be next to each other, right? Let's use this property called display inline, but we still want the boxes to be boxed. I mean, we still want our divs to have this box-like property, inline block. Okay, save. Take a look. It should change. Now it looks really ugly, but we do have like some sort of, we do have it sitting next to each other. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's make the div easier to look. Let's border again. It's easy for us to see. Solid. Let's say 333. Save. Reload. You see all the boxes appear. They're kind of ugly. Okay. Can you follow? Right. So I just added a border. Nothing new here. The new idea is inline block. Okay. Here's something cool. Say I want all those boxes to float to the right. It's still ugly, but let's say I want it to float somewhere. So I say float right. Can you guess what happens? Reload. Everything floats to the right. And it's ugly and it's broken. Because what happened was, due to some CSS bug, we didn't define a container that's solid around these three objects. If you look at your code, you notice that there's this div called fluid, row fluid around span 4, this thing, but we didn't define any CSS for it. So to the browser, this thing is like invisible. It's not even a container. It's not solid. So we need to define something for row fluid. Okay. By the way, when you're doing CSS web design and things break, this is how things look like. You're like, oh, ew, how did that happen? Okay. Let's say I want this width. I want it to be solid now, yeah? So I'm going to say width 100%. New idea. You can have width which is a specific set of pixels, so you can say 100%, in which case the div will fill, the row fluid div in this particular case will fill up to fill whatever div contains it. So the row fluid div is inside the container div, right? And the container div is 960 pixels. So when you say row fluid 100% width, it will fill up to become 960 pixels. You reload, and it should still be the same because the width, it actually exists, but it's like sort of non-collapsed, right? Height, you can also do height. Let's give it, say, 500 pixels, just to be safe. You reload, and okay, that looks better. It's contained inside that, right? Here's something interesting. If you look at your code, you notice that some happy photo actually appears before hobbies and fun facts. But when I set the property float right, basically what happens is the browser looks at your HTML code, it scrolls down and says, oh, some happy photo, I have to float right. So it takes this and it puts it to the right. And that's why it's the first thing that appears on the right here. Okay, anyway, I don't really like things to float right. Let's make it float left, like it should. By default, it's actually kind of float left. I'm just going to show you that float exists, and you can use it to make like divs appear like on the sidebar. Say for instance you want the sidebar to be on your right instead of your left, you can use float. Okay. I want to make this prettier, so I told you padding already. Let's have some padding, 15 pixels. And just for the heck of it, let's add some margins, right? 10 pixels. Actually, you know what? Let's use our trick that we learned earlier. I don't want any padding for the top and bottom, so I'm just going to put 0 here. But I want padding for the right and the left, 10 pixels. Everyone good? Brilliant. Reload. And yep. It's kind of nice. Okay? Pardon? The code? Okay. Okay, so this is alright. This is what I wanted, kinda. It's a bit ugly, but it will do. And notice, but if we want to really make this nice, we have to do some math. We have to calculate like, oh, this is 960 pixels, so I want everything to be equal. And we have to say maybe increase the width to, I'd say 350 pixels? No, this is a bit too much. Let's try 250. We'll take a look. And that looks nicer, right? So change to 250 pixels. That looks nicer. And I think I'll increase this to 20 pixels. I'm just pulling numbers out. Oh, that's too much. So you notice, right? When it's too much, it just collapses. That's bad. I'm gonna just keep it at 15. Maybe I'll bump this by 5 pixels. Okay, so copy this. This is a lot of guesswork. Actually, I should take out. I should do some math and find out what's the exact dimensions to make it look all equal. Oops. Oh dear. Sorry, 15 pixels. Padding 15 pixels, yeah? Okay. That's kind of good. Right. Now, here's the problem. You could practice a lot, like I did, since I was 15, to get all these basics right. To make it look prettier. It's not very pretty. It's okay. It's better than the vomit that we generated the first session. But it's still not that great. Okay? So, you could spend a lot of time fiddling with all these properties and writing a lot of CSS to make everything look just right. But it turns out that there are people who have done this already. So if you were learning HTML a couple of years ago, like when I was 15, they didn't exist, these kind of things. But a company called Twitter created this thing called Bootstrap. And Bootstrap is essentially a bunch of CSS styles that can be used, and it's immediately pretty. It immediately looks like this. Looks quite good, yeah? So we're going to use Bootstrap. Sorry, if you want to find Bootstrap, the URL is, well, actually you can Google for it. That's easier. Twitter Bootstrap. Twitter Bootstrap. But the URL is this. I don't think it would be useful for you to type it all out, but you can. You can bookmark it. Twitter's designers have spent some time creating a set of very beautiful but generic and reusable set of style sheets, set of CSS that you can apply to your web page. And how you apply it is they give you a bunch of divs and IDs and classes to use, and when you apply that class to your div, it immediately gets bootstrapped, immediately gets all these beautiful CSS rules that Twitter's designers have spent hours working on gets applied to that particular container. So, we've done some defining of our own CSS, but let's get rid of this. Let's just delete it. All that work, right, for nothing, but you learn a couple of things. You can delete it, or you can, copy it and paste it somewhere else. Maybe paste it in your vomit site, the one that we created earlier, the one that my first web page. You can paste it here. But let's delete it. So when you're done with this, are you done? Okay. Delete the style tag. So yeah, everything inside the style tag. Let's delete it. If you accidentally delete everything, you can Ctrl Z to undo. Just saying. Okay, I'm gonna delete this. Let's look through our entire thing. Let's get rid of the width as well. We don't need this anymore. In your image, get rid of the width. Okay? Right, so everything else is just plain HTML. If you go back to the website, you save this, because you remove all the CSS, it will just default back to the ugly original thing that we had at the start. I'm not wasting your time. I just taught you a few CSS things. Okay, next idea. So, remember I told you that you can define CSS inside the tags itself. You can just type write style and blah blah blah, right? But that's not good, because for every h1 in the file, you probably have to write the same styles. And so the next step is to put it in your header. You write a style tag, and then you define styles that will apply to all the same tags in the file. Now this, I told you before that programmers are really lazy. So the problem with putting a style tag at the top of your page is that your website is not just one page, right? It's many pages. There's an about page, there's a cat page, there's a contact me page, and if you put your style here, then you have to copy and paste it across every single web page that you create. Wouldn't it be better if you just write one file, put all your styles inside that file, and it will be a .css file, by the way. So you just create a new file, you put all your styles there, you save it as a something.css, like mystyles.css, and then you link to it from this HTML page. So instead of putting the styles here, you just say, I point to this file has all the styles for my web page. That way you can only maintain one style sheet, and you can have many web pages that just points to that style sheet. So we're going to do that now. Now I can't, I'm a bit late. I'm also lazy because I'm a programmer, so I can't actually remember the full link tag. So I want you to type link, and then I want you to hit tab. What? What? Oh right, sorry. Yeah, this. Sorry. Okay. It must be surrounded by these braces, less than, greater than, angle brackets. And because I'm a bit anal, I want this. This is self-closing tag. Okay, so now it looks just like your link. You must link to a specific file. In a web page, you can link to, say, the New York Times style sheet. It will be like http newyorktimes/static/style.css. But in this particular case, we don't want to go through all that trouble. Let's just link to the Bootstrap style sheets. Now, if you look at your folder, right, that you've downloaded, you notice that there are Bootstrap style sheets already there. So an easy way of linking to it is just typing the file name. You can do this, by the way, because the Bootstrap, these resources are in the same folder as this HTML. Okay? And I want you to go back to your browser now, and if you reload, something magical should happen. Pretty cool, yeah? All that work that we had to do to get everything aligned, it's done for us because Twitter Bootstrap has all these rules defined. Okay, now we can see the cute boy in just the right size. Okay, the reason this works, by the way, is because in Twitter Bootstrap, there is a rule for container, there is a rule for row fluid, there is a rule for span for, and these are just things that I've already put in your HTML. And just now I didn't allow you to link to it immediately because I wanted you to learn like how to arrange things. But the CSS for this already exists in the bootstrap.css file. In fact, if you even want to, you can even go to the bootstrap.css and take a look at it. It's really long. You open it with Sublime Text, right? And you just open it, you just take a look. And this is hours of work by this guy called MDO and another guy called Fat. I mean, these are their Twitter usernames. So you just take a look, and it's crazy, and look at that, oh my goodness. And you can actually learn a lot from this, but I'm not going to go there right now. Yeah. It's crazy, right? Okay. We're just going to use this. With enough experience, you'll be able to learn how to use it. Write bootstrap.css. Another thing that's pretty cool, in the image, it has a class called ImageRounded. And if you look carefully at the picture of the little boy, the corners of the picture are actually rounded. Right. So how do you know which classes to apply? You go to the Bootstrap website, you can go and surf around, and they explain to you like what you can use. So here they tell you, please use the HTML5 Doctype. They say that this is the default grid system. These are 960 pixels maximum, and these are all the various columns that they have. So you can have like this kind of layout with text inside, this kind of layout, this kind of layout, right? And they give you examples for each thing. And in fact, there's cool bits as well here. Like if you go to, there are very pretty ways of presenting tables. If you want to present a table of your cat's fur color, for instance, you can use table, and it will be styled very prettily. They even give you like all kinds of tricks for images. If you apply image circle to your image, in your HTML file. In fact, if you want to take a look at that, it will become a circle. Here, your image, you apply image circle. Okay. Save. Go to the browser. Go to your web page. Oops, I should close that. It's ugly. Reload, and it becomes a circle. Magic. A bit like Ruby. I'm kidding. Rails, I mean. Okay. So, you see this thing? Cedric is a Singaporean university student who loves it should say something for you, hopefully. Something different, because it can't be that you like green tea, good books, and cats. I want to make this nice. I want this to look cool. So I'm gonna add a new class here. Right? This div surrounds this. And what class am I gonna add? So last night I went to the Twitter website, the Bootstrap website. And I looked for scaffolding. Not scaffolding, base CSS. I went to typography, and I wanted to look for something very pretty. So I scrolled down, and I kept scrolling down, and then I saw that there was this thing called lead body copy. So the text would look very nice and big, right? And the way you add lead body copy is you just add class lead to the p tag. Let's try that now and see how it looks like. I'm not going to add it to the div now. There will be another style they're going to add to the div. I'm going to add this to the p first. So class equals lead. And I know that this style exists because the Bootstrap guide has told me that it exists. You go to your web page again, reload, and it looks nice. Okay? Right. I'm still not happy with this. I think it can look better. Yes. Oh, the code? You just add p class equals lead. So you got lead tags. That's nice. Alright. Let's remove this. Let's remove the class lead because there's another nicer style that Bootstrap provides called hero unit. I don't know why hero unit. And the hero unit will immediately apply lead styles to the p tag. Okay, now save and reload. Kinda cool, eh? Kinda cool. Now your website looks kinda nice. Yeah. What? Hero-unit. Because it makes you look like a hero. I'm a programmer and a photographer and a writer. Okay. Okay. There's one last cool thing that I want you to do. So I told you that there's bootstrap.css, right? If you look at your folder, there's another thing called bootstrap-responsive.css. I want you to add the link again. Same thing, link. Oh, actually no. Sorry. Put it below the link you already have. Just tap. Then you bootstrap. What is this? Okay, so what this does is it suddenly turns your website into this magical responsive design. What do I mean by responsive? You go to your browser, you reload, everything should look the same. Oh well, not really the same. It's wider. And I want you to resize your browser. So if this web page was live and you open it on your phone, yeah, it will make sense. The thing would change based on the size of your browser. So you make it big, you can make it really small, you can make it really big. and it immediately adjusts based on the width of your browser. It's kind of cool. Okay, Sublime. If I'm not mistaken, there are slightly different styles. There's a section on Twitter Bootstrap that explains this to you. If you go to Twitter Bootstrap, it will be scaffolding and then responsive design, and it basically says that you can add a new CSS, and you can add a viewport, and there's instructions here for what does it mean, and how do you make sure that your design works with Twitter responsive Bootstrap. Bootstrap responsive design. Okay, this is a fairly new CSS feature. This makes sense because nowadays more and more people are using iPads, and they're using iPhones, and they're using tablets and phones, sorry. So tablets and phones to serve the web, and they have different browser sizes, and so you want your web page to look nice inside these browser sizes, inside these different screen sizes. Okay, brilliant. Are you guys good? Because there's actually just one last short section to cover, which is introducing HTML5. If you feel like you've got enough ideas for a bit, you want to take another 5-minute break? We still have plenty of time. We're ending at 1, and this is 12:18. The next section will be like 20 minutes max. You want to take a break? Just to absorb? Okay, let's take a break. 5 minutes.